Alright, so let's talk programs that I'm using to teach myself Mandarin Chinese. On screen here we have Rosetta Stone, which in my opinion is pretty good. It's nice and structured. It has everything broken down into really big lessons, which kind of gives you a general overview of what you're going to be covering in that lesson. And then it breaks it down individually, piece by piece, with, say, a pronunciation section, which is what I'm working on now. It has writing pieces, it has reading pieces, and then you have different, association pieces, in which what I mean by that is it'll show you a picture of, say, a girl running, it'll show you a picture of a boy running, it'll show you a picture of a boy not running, and then you have to figure out and say what it would be if a girl wasn't running. So you know the word for girl because it shows you a girl, and then you know the word for run because it shows you that, and then it shows the word for no, and you know that, so you have to put the different pieces together to form a new sentence that says a girl is not running versus a boy is not running, and things along those lines. It's good in that aspect where it basically tells you nothing in English, which is good because it forces you to actually think about what the meanings of different words are and put them together inside your head, which is far more effective than just using flashcards, and it's not really memorizing anything because you're just going straight from Chinese to English versus literally just thinking about the meanings in it of themselves in Chinese, because the translations, especially the literal translations, are way different than what it might be actually interpreted as. Another program that I use is Pimsleur's, which is a very audio-intensive program that I found to be fairly effective in learning Mandarin Chinese so far. It works off of a spaced repetition type of method where you'll learn new things, but then review what you've already covered a couple of minutes ago to make sure that you're actually retaining what they're covering.
This is Unit 8 of Pimsleur's Mandarin Chinese 1. Listen to this conversation between Mr. Li and Miss Wang.
李先生，王小姐，
They are sitting in a restaurant. At one point, Mr. Li will address the waitress, calling her simply
小姐。
In my opinion, it's pretty good for drilling and practicing your speaking and listening skills. However, it's just audio, so there's no feedback whatsoever. So you're not quite sure if there's any mistakes in your pronunciation besides what you can gauge off of what you're listening to. But besides that shortcoming, I really enjoy the program because it allows me to multitask while also learning Chinese. So yeah, I highly recommend the program, and I'll put the link down below if you're interested. Now, as for reading and writing, I was initially very intimidated by Chinese, considering the fact that there are thousands upon thousands of characters. However, once I started learning it, it really began to dawn on me that English and Chinese and French and any language really has the 80-20 principle in effect. And what I mean by that is that 80% of what's going to be said or what's going to be written really only comprises 20% of the vocabulary that's available. In English, the word the probably takes up a majority of what people say. It's an important word even though we don't really think about it. It's in pretty much every sentence you're going to use, and it just shows up a ton. Same thing in Chinese. There are characters that I begin to notice and recognize, and I'm able to read and interpret. Like the character for me or I, 我, shows up a ton. Sure, like I think speak is what that means, and this character shows up a ton. When is like language, and then shi is like to be. So you learn like common characters and you begin to recognize them showing up a ton. You know, learning very niche characters at the beginning is probably not a good idea, but now that I'm learning very common sentence patterns, very easy sentence patterns, I'm noticing words and characters that show up a ton, and it's making it easier for me to break sentences down into pieces that I understand. Additionally, too, taking things as their literal definition versus just going straight from Chinese to English is actually a big help. For example, I think danshui or dashui, I'm not sure if that's correct, but I think the character da is for big, and then shui is like learn, so it's like big learning, and I think it literally means like college, because a college is like a big learning building, if that makes any sense. Or for example, Tien is also it's the character for sun, right? And then so like, all the things that have to do with the days, like today, tomorrow, yesterday, they all have tian in them. So it's like referring to like maybe the next day or this day or the last day. I'm not sure the literal translation, but you get what I mean in that the characters are broken down piece by piece and that they have simple meanings that when strung together have a more complex meaning or a different interpretation by people who know the language. But yeah, the reading and writing isn't as hard as I thought it would be. The recognition is starting to get there, which is really cool. And different movies and TV shows that I'm watching, I'm actually able to pick out really, really common words that they say a lot. Not, whole sentences, but that's something. That's pretty cool. 大家好，我名字 Jaden， 我住在纽约，和我是美国人。我会说英文，但是我想学习中文为了旅行和结交新朋友。我喜欢跑步和吃饺子，这个我喜欢学我。我不知道多中文现在，但是我学多，谢谢你看。